it's okay to leave your hometown. A lot of times we might feel this urge and this calling deep within us that there's things that we have to go do and there's places that we have to go, and it's a longing for a destiny that we all feel within us. And I don't want to say everyone, but I do want to say that they're coming from a small town myself. I remember growing up and feeling like there had to be more to this world, to my life, to all these different things, okay? And essentially, this feeling is like a burning urge in your gut that there's things that you have to accomplish in this life. There's things you have to go do and stuff. But a lot of times, it might extend to beyond the place that you were born, okay? Me, for example, I was born in a tiny border town in Arizona. I mean, I was born in Tucson, Arizona, but I grew up in a really small town, like super tiny, probably like 6,000 people or something, like really small. And it was on the border with Mexico, and it had a whole culture, and it's very rich in a lot of ways. But I always felt like there was more that I needed to do, and for a long time, I guess I couldn't even have envisioned what that would be. But it was more or less like a urge that I needed to go do more. Okay, and with that feeling, it was like something that was very present in my younger years, and I was very ambitious, and I was doing all this stuff, and opening businesses and stuff, and hustling a million different ways. But time and time again, I would like what maybe like get into a position where I was like financially comfortable, but it just wasn't like I always felt like something was missing. Okay, and I have siblings, and I'm the second oldest, and I'm very fortunate in this sense because my older sister, one day, she works in coffee and she sells green coffee, she trades it. But before all of this, she was a roaster and a barista and all these different things in our hometown. And she began looking on the internet and like finding out how much more there was to this coffee stuff. And I remember one time she told me specifically that she was thinking about moving to Spain. This was insane. And it sparked for the first time in my life the idea that it's like, oh, I can leave. I can leave my hometown. And that feeling was like a seed that was planted into my brain. And the thought of her going to Spain immediately inspired me to want to go to Spain because so a little backstory. I've been cutting hair since I was 14. It was like my original skill set that I acquired from like a really young age, and I opened barbershops and did all that. I do a lot of other stuff nowadays, not really like that anymore. But cutting hair was my initial like career, and with that being my original career, it allows you the luxury to be able to pick up and cut hair just about anywhere in the world if you really wanted to. And I remember her telling me about Spain and me being like, oh, like, I'll go with you to Spain. I'll go to Spain. Shit, I'll move to Spain. That sounds like a great idea. And it got me so excited and at the idea that I could leave my hometown. And it was nice because it originally started like about like think because she's married, so it would be like me, her, and her husband, all three of us. And I was like super excited about this idea. I began like planning all this stuff, and long story short, that didn't happen. It wasn't in the cards. But the thing about it is, it planted that seed in my brain that I wanted to leave my hometown. I must have been around 19 years old, okay? And that feeling stuck with me. And I worked aggressively in my hometown, did a bunch of stuff. Like I said, opened businesses, did all that. And during that time, we were all working really hard. My sister, her husband, myself, all of us working very aggressively to make our dreams come true. And one day, my sister got a job offer that was in Miami. She took it. She uprooted her entire life and moved across the country. And it was insane. She moved to Miami and she started to build a lab for her like new like team that she was a part of. She went all the way in on this coffee dream that she had, and it was insanely inspiring for me to see coming from where I came from because I'm a very ambitious person, but it's not very often that someone leaves that far. They might move a town or two over, something like that. Very normal. I had lived in a bigger city. I moved to Phoenix for a while. And this was like, someone that just moved across the country. It's pretty unheard of almost, like where I'm from. And in a lot of ways, it was like inspiring more than just not just in the way of like inspiring as like, oh, someone left, but it was also like reassuring to me that if we did leave, things will still be okay. Because she left, and for the next year, I was in my hometown. And the world didn't end. Everything didn't come to a screeching halt. Her friends continued to live their lives. Our families continued to live their lives. The world kept spinning. Because specifically in my position, I feel like I put a lot of pressure on myself to try to like be there for all my family and be there for my friends and all these things, and realizing that even if you leave, the world keeps spinning was very reassuring to me, because she left and everything was okay. And she started to make her dreams come true. She was doing all this stuff. Her and her husband were in Miami, and he does a lot of stuff as well. His career was going good, and it was very beneficial to their life, and it opened up an entirely new chapter that otherwise wouldn't have been there if they hadn't have taken that leap. Okay? It's very inspiring to me. And around the time that she left, I got into 3D animation. I started doing a lot of animation work, and it led to me making some connections in New York City. And basically, I started working on projects and making this art in my little hometown. And at one point, I had made like a magazine cover for some people. And basically, I designed this with a friend. We made the animation, like the cover, the front, the back of a magazine. And we also accompanied it with a video animation as well. And basically, they took these animations and made a bunch of magazines, like the photos, the front and the back. And they made a bunch of magazines. And when they dropped the magazine, it completely took up the entire store that it was being displayed in. So they sent me pictures of it, and I'm sitting in my hometown on my laptop. And I remember basically how crazy it was to see my art in New York City, and I wasn't in New York City. I'd never even been to New York City, okay? And shortly after that, I started to take trips to New York City very often, and I got into music videos, I got into like photography, video work, all this different stuff, and it started to take me on an adventure, and it just so happened to be in New York City. I went to a couple other cities along the way, shot some music videos, did that. But New York was where it was at for me. I came the first time, and immediately in my gut, I knew that this was somewhere that I had to be. So 6 months after taking my first trip to New York, I decided that I was going to move to New York. Actually, it was about the first trip that I came to New York. I knew in my gut that I was going to do this. And I spent the next 6 months after my first trip preparing to move to New York. I had a barbershop in Arizona, I had all this, and basically I had to uproot my entire life, close my business, get rid of my car, move out of my apartment, and move across the country. I packed my life into 3 little bags, and I moved to New York, and I was sleeping on the floor in the Bronx at a friend's apartment. Hardwood floor, a blanket this thin, and a pillow. Completely restarted my entire life. And on this journey, I got to New York, and I started to do everything that I came out here to do. And it was absolutely beautiful to see and to do, and the experiences that I've gained along the way would never have been possible if I never took the leap and decided to leave my hometown. There's nothing wrong with your hometown. It's actually the thing that's going to make you the most who you are. This is your roots. This is where you came from. This is your upbringing. So it's very important, and it's very important to look at where you came from and understand all like the lessons and the blessings that came with being born where you were born and where you grew up. But with that being said, there's so much in the world, and there's so many lessons to be gained along the way in other places as well. So the moral of this entire story is basically, sometimes we can feel guilty for having these thoughts of leaving our hometowns and our friends and our family and everybody that we knew growing up. But on the other side of this is everything that you can not even imagine. It's like, it's beyond your imagination. It's beyond your comprehension of what is to come when you set out on this adventure. It's insane. But if you have this urge in your stomach, if you have this urge to go and to see and to live and to do, I highly recommend that you act on it, because life is insanely short, and before you know it, it can be gone in an instant. So I encourage you to empty yourself in this lifetime and to listen to your urges, listen to your gut, and go where you need to go. And I promise you, everything will be okay if you go on your journey. And the memories you will make, the lessons you will learn, the friends you will make, the people you'll meet, the relationships you'll have, all these different things will add to your character in ways that you can't imagine. And it'll make you a better person overall, more well-rounded, more versed, and just more knowledgeable in every sense. So I want to say this. It's okay to leave your hometown, and I highly encourage you give it a shot if this is something that you feel in your gut.